Kuching, Kuching. Officially, the city of Kuching is the capital and the most populous city in the state of Sarawak in Malaysia. It is also the capital of Kuching Division. The city is situated on the Sarawak River at the southwest tip of the state of Sarawak on the island of Borneo and covers an area of 431 square kilometres with a population about 165,642 in the Kuching North administrative region and 159,490 in the Kuching South administrative region. A total of 325,132 people. Kuching was the third capital of Sarawak in 1827 during the administration of the Bruneian Empire. In 1841, Kuching became the capital of Sarawak after Sarawak was ceded to James Brooke for helping the Bruneian Empire in crushing a rebellion. The town continued to receive attention and development during the rule of Charles Brooke, such as the construction of sanitation system, hospital, prison, fortress, and a bazaar. In 1941, the Brooke administration had a centenary celebration in Kuching. During World War II, Kuching was occupied by Japanese forces from 1942 to 1945. The Japanese government set up a Batu Lintang camp near Kuching to hold prisoners of war and civilian internees. After the war, the town survived intact. However, the last Raja of Sarawak, Sir Charles Vyner Brooke, decided to cede Sarawak as part of British Crown colony in 1946. Kuching remained as capital during the Crown Colony period. After the formation of Malaysia in 1963, Kuching retained its status as state capital and was granted city status in 1988. Since then, the Kuching city is divided into two administrative regions managed by two separate local authorities. The administrative centre of Sarawak state government is located at Wisma Bapa, Malaysia. Kuching. Kuching is a major food destination for tourists and the main gateway for travellers visiting Sarawak and Borneo. Kuching Wetlands National Park is located about 30 kilometres from the city, and there are many other tourist attractions in and around Kuching such as Bako National Park, Semingo Wildlife Centre, Rainforest World Music Festival, State Assembly Building, the Astana, Fort Margherita, Kuching Cap Museum, and Sarawak State Museum. The city has become one of the major industrial and commercial centers in East Malaysia. Etymology: the name of Kuching was already in use for the city by the time Brooke arrived in 1839. There are many theories as to the derivation of the word Kuching. It was perhaps derived from the Malay word for @kuchīŋ, or from Kochi, an Indian trading port on the Malabar coast and a generic term in China and British India for trading harbour. Some Hindu artifacts can be seen today at the Sarawak State Museum. However, another source reported that the Kuching city was previously known as Sarawak before the Brooke arrived. The settlement was renamed to Sarawak proper during the kingdom expansion. It was only in 1872 that Charles Brooke renamed the settlement to Kuching. There was one unlikely theory based on a story on miscommunication. According to the story, James Brooke arrived in Kuching on his yacht Royalist. He then asked his local guide about the name of the town. The local guide, thinking that James Brooke was pointing towards a cat, and said the word Kuching. However, ethnic Malays in Sarawak usually refer the name of a cat as pusak instead of the Malay word kusing. Some source also stated that it was derived from a fruit called mata kusing, a fruit that grows widely in Malaysia and Indonesia. There was also a hill in the city that was named after the fruit, which is called Bukit ~kuːtʃɪŋ. While has been written by a British woman to her son in the 19th century, it was stated that the name was derived from a stream of the same name, called Sungai Kuching, or Cat River in English. The river was situated at the foot of Bukit Mata Kuching and in front of the Tua Pek Kong Temple. In the 1950s, the river became very shallow because of silt deposits in the river. The river was later filled to make way for roads. There is another theory that Kuching actually means ku in Chinese. During the Brooke administration, there was no water supply and waterborne diseases were common. In 1888, an epidemic broke out which later was known as Great Cholera Epidemic. A well situated in the present-day China Street in Main Bazaar helped to combat the disease by providing clean water supply. Due to increased demand for a water supply, the role of the well was later replaced by water treatment plant on the Bow Road. History. Sarawak was part of the Bruneian Empire since the reign of First Brunei Sultanate, Sultan Muhammad Shah. Kuching was the third capital of Sarawak, founded in 1827 by the representative of the Sultan of Brunei, Pangeran Indra Mahkota. Prior to the founding of Kuching, the two past capitals of Sarawak were Santabong, founded by Sultan Pangeran Tengah in 1599, and Lidatana, founded by Datu Patinggi Ali in the early 1820s. Pangeran Raja Muda Hashimit later ceded the territory to a British adventurer, James Brooke, as a reward for helping him to counter a rebellion. The rebellion was crushed in November 1840, and on the 24th of September 1841, Brooke was appointed as the governor of Sarawak with the title of Raja. It was not announced until the 18th of August 1842, following Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin II's ratifying the governorship, and requiring Brooke to pay an annual sum of $2,500 to the Sultan. Since that time, Kuching became the seat of the Brooke government. The administration was later continued by his nephew, Charles Brooke. As an administrative capital, it became the center of attention and development. Improvements included a sanitation system. By 1874, the city had completed several developments, including construction of a hospital, prison, Fort Margarita, and many other buildings. Charles Brooke's wife wrote his autobiography, including his descriptions of Kuching. The little town looked so neat and fresh and prosperous under the careful jurisdiction of the Raja and his officers, that it reminded me of a box of painted toys kept scrupulously clean by a child. The bazaar runs for some distance along the banks of river, and this quarter of the town is inhabited almost entirely by Chinese traders, with the exception of one or two Hindu shops. Groceries of exotic kinds are laid out on tables near the pavement, from which the purchasers make their choice. At the Hindu shops you can buy silks from India, sarongs from Java, tea from China, and tiles and porcelain from all parts of the world, laid out in picturesque confusion and overflowing into the street. The Astana, which is now the official residence of the governor of Sarawak, was constructed next to Brooke's first residence. He had it built in 1869 as a wedding gift to his wife. Kuching continued to prosper under Charles Viner Brooke, who succeeded his father as the third Raja of Sarawak. In 1941, Kuching was the site of the Brooke government centenary celebration. A few months later, the Brooke administration came to a close when the Japanese occupied Sarawak. During the Second World War, 6 platoons of infantry from 215th Punjab Regiment were stationed at Kuching in April 1941. The regiment defended Kuching and Bukit Stabur airfield from being destroyed by the Japanese. Defense was mainly concentrated on Kuching and Miri. However, on 24 December 1941, Kuching was conquered by the Japanese forces. Sarawak was ruled as part of the Japanese Empire for 3 years and 8 months, until the official Japanese surrender on the 11th of September 1945. The official surrender was signed on HMAS Kuching. From March 1942, the Japanese operated the Batu Lintang camp for PAS and civilian internees, 5 kilometers outside Kuching. After the end of World War II, the town survived and was wholly undamaged. The third and last Raja, Sir Charles Vyner Brooke, later ceded Sarawak to the British Crown on 1 July 1946. During the Crown Colony period, the government worked to develop and improve the infrastructure on Sarawak. Kuching was revitalized as the capital of Sarawak under the British colonial government, when Sarawak, together with North Borneo, Singapore and the Federation of Malaya, formed the Federation of Malaysia in 1963. Kuching kept its status as the state capital and was granted a city status on 1 August 1988. On 29 July 2015, Kuching was declared as City of Unity by One Malaysia Foundation for Racial Harmony that existed in the city because of cross-racial marriages, multiracial schools, fair scholarship distributions and balanced workforce patterns. Governance. As a capital of Sarawak, Kuching plays an important role in the political and economic welfare of the population of the entire state as it becomes the seat of the state government where almost all of the ministries and agencies are based. The Sarawak State Legislative Assembly is located at the suburb of Kuching in Putrajaya. There are 3 members of parliament representing the 3 parliamentary constituencies in the city: Putrajaya, Kuching City, and Stampen. The city also elects 8 representatives into the state legislature from the state assembly districts of Tupong, Semarang, Satok, Padungan, Pending, Batu Lintang, Kota Sentosa and Batu Kalah. Local authority and city definition. Kuching is the only city in Malaysia to be administered by 2 mayors. The city is divided into Kuching North and Kuching South. Each of these is administered by a mayor for Kuching South and commissioner for Kuching North. The current commissioner for Kuching North is Datuk Abang Wahab Abang Julai, who took over from Abang Atay Abang Medan on 1 August 2011, while Datuk James Chan Kasin became the new mayor for the Kuching South in 2008. After the sudden death of Chong Ted Seung, the city obtained a city status on 1 August 1988, and since that it was administered by Kuching North City Hall and Kuching South City Council. The city is defined within the borders of what is the Kuching district, formerly the municipality of Kuching, with an area of 1,868.83 square kilometers. It is the most populous district in Sarawak. The area then subdivided into 3 sub-districts, namely Kuching proper, Paduan and Saburan. Kuching proper included the city area and Paduan municipality, while Saburan and Paduan is a sub-district. The combined area of Kuching North City Hall, Kuching South City Council, Paduan Municipal Council and the Samarihan District Council is known as Greater Kuching. Geography. Kuching is located on the banks of the Sarawak River in the northwestern part of the island of Borneo. The limits of the city of Kuching include all that area in Kuching district containing an area approximately 431.01 square kilometers bounded from Gunung Lasik in Muara Tebas to Batu Bahia in the Santabong Peninsula, following a series of survey marks as stated in the first schedule of the City of Kuching Ordinance, 1988. As a simplification of the legal statute, the Kuching city limits extend from the Kuching International Airport in the south to the northern coast of the Santabong and Baiko peninsulas, from the Kuching Wetlands National Park in the west to the Sarawak River estuary in the east. The Sarawak River generally splits the city into north and south. The highest point in the city is Mount Santabong on the Santabong Peninsula, which is at 810.2 meters above sea level. Located 35 kilometers north of the city center, rapid urbanization has occurred in Greater Kuching and the urban sprawl extends to Penrissen, Kota Sentosa, Kota Paduan, Batu Kaur, Matang, Semarang, Saburan, Tarit, Kota Samarahan, Asjar, as well as Sirian, which is located about 65 kilometers from Kuching. Climate: Kuching has a tropical rainforest climate, moderately hot but very humid at times, and receives substantial rainfall. The average annual rainfall is approximately 4,200 mm. Kuching is the wettest populated area in Malaysia with an average of 247 rainy days per year. Kuching receives only 5 hours of sunshine per day on average and an average of only 3.7 hours of sunshine per day in the month of January. The wettest times are during the northeast monsoon months of November to February, and the city's driest months are June through August. The temperature in Kuching ranges from 19 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius, but the average temperature is around 23 degrees Celsius in the early hours of the morning and rises to around 33 degrees Celsius during mid-afternoon, but the heat index often reaches 42 degrees Celsius during the dry season due to the humidity. This temperature stays almost constant throughout the year if it is not affected by the heavy rain and strong winds during the early hours of the morning, which can bring the temperature down to 19 degrees Celsius. But this is very rare. Demography: the terms Kuching.It have been used to describe the people of Kuching, although it is not official. However, the simplest way to call the people of Kuching is only by Orang Kuching, which means people of Kuching in English. Ethnicity: the Malaysian Census 2010 reports that Kuching has a population of 325,132. The city population consists of Malays, Chinese, Iban, Bidayuh, non-Malaysian citizens, other Bumiputras, Melanau, Indian and others. The Chinese are made up of Hokkien in the city areas and Hakka in the suburbs mainly. Other Han Chinese consist of Fuzhou, Teochew, Hainan people, Cantonese people, Henghua people and others. Most of the Malays and Melanau are Muslim. The Chinese practiced either Buddhism, Taoism or Christianity, while the Iban and Bidayuh are mainly Christian, with some of them still practiced animism. A number of Hindus, Sikhs and a small number of secularists also exist around the city. A sizable of non-citizen are mostly coming from the Indonesian area of Kalimantan due to the state proximity with it, and most of them consist of migrant workers. Since the British period, a small population of South Asian, especially Pakistanis, have existed around the city by running the business mainly in selling clothes and spices. Other migrants during the time also included those Bugis from the Dutch East Indies and other races from the neighbor Dutch Borneo. Interracial marriages among those of different ethnic backgrounds are common in Kuching, and the city itself is a home to 30 different ethnic groups. Languages: beside being the capital city of Sarawak, Kuching became a business and cultural center for the Malays of Sarawak. The dialect of Malay spoken in Kuching is known as Bahasa Sarawak, which is a subset of the Malay language. The dialect used in Kuching is a little different from the dialect used in Miri. Since the second largest population in the city is made up of Han Chinese, the Chinese language is also commonly used, particularly Hokkien, Hakka and Mandarin Chinese. Almost all residents are able to speak English. A number of special private schools that teach English for expatriates' child can be found through the city. Economy. Kuching is one of the main industrial and commercial centre for Sarawak. Many state-level, national-level and international commercial banks, as well as some insurance companies established their headquarters and branches here. The economy is dominated by the primary sector and currently by the tertiary-based industry, as the state government want to aim Sarawak to be transformed into a developed state by 2020. There are 3 industrial areas in Kuching, namely Pending Industrial Estate, Mak Laut Industrial Park, and Samajaya Free Industrial Zone. This is intended to boost the city's commercial and industrial activity to making it a major growth center in East Malaysia, as well for the BIMPEGA. Kuching hosted numerous national, regional and international conferences, congress and trade fairs, such as the Malaysia Global Business Forum, Tomorrow's Leaders Summit, International Hydropower Association World Congress, ASEAN Tourism Forum, and Roots Asia Conference. Besides, Kuching was chosen as a permanent host for the biennial ASEAN International Film Festival and Awards. These events are normally held at the Borneo Convention Center. Kuching Port Authority, established in 1961, started its operation at Tanah Puteh Port in 1975 with annual capacity of 350,000 tons. Its operations has since been shifted to Pending and Senari terminals with annual capacity of 2.9 million tons and 7 million tons respectively. KPA also controlled Biawak Oil Jetty that handles petroleum products. Historically, the Chinese have contributed to the city economy since the migration during the Brunei Sultanate period after the discovery of antimony ore, and also during the Charles Viner Brooke administration, who encouraging the migration of the overseas Chinese to planting black pepper. Transportation. Land roads in the city are under the jurisdiction and maintenance of either the 2 local councils, i.e., DBKU and MBKS, or the state's Public Works Department. Roads of the latter category are either state roads or federal roads. Most major internal roads are dual carriageways, and the city is linked by highways to other towns in Sarawak. These highways are mainly federal roads maintained by the National Public Works Department. The city also famous for a number of roundabouts, including the oldest and largest one, known as Datuk Abang Kipali bin Abang Akip roundabout. The roundabout are usually landscaped and were efficient to handling traffic congestion. However, traffic lights are more commonly used now as the city traffic continues to rise. As the city is located near the equator, potholes have the tendency to develop on the roads during the monsoon season, usually at the end of the year due to coinciding with winter in the northern hemisphere. Roads leading outside of the city to the interior are of a slightly lower quality but are now being upgraded. Highway routes from Kuching include 1 to 15 Kuching Syrian Highway, Kuching Bypass, Kuching Kota Samarihan Expressway, Tun Salafuddin Bridge, Mitang Highway. Public transportation. There are 2 types of taxi operating in the city. The main taxi is the red and yellow, while the larger is painted in blue, which is more comfortable but expensive, known as the executive taxis. In 2014, a smartphone taxi booking application named Grat Taxi was launched, making the city as the 5th area after Klang Valley, Cyberjaya, Putrajaya and Johor Bahru that have the applications. The main bus terminal is the Kuching Central, which just launched in 2012. It is located in the south of the city, about 5 minutes away from the Kuching International Airport and 20 minutes from the city centre. The terminal serves a long-distance destination to Brunei, Sabah and West Kalimantan in Indonesia. Another bus terminal is the old Kuching bus terminal. It is still operating as some of the bus companies that supposed to use the new terminal are unwilling to use the facilities due to some ongoing disagreement. Other minibuses or van services also available in the city. Water Kuching, like most towns in Sarawak, has connections to other urban centres and settlements by water transportation. Between the banks of Sarawak River, near the city centre, many tambang can be seen carrying passengers from one river bank to another. For those staying along the river banks, it is a short way to getting to the city proper. The wharf for express boats servicing transport to further areas such as Cebu and Bintulu is located in the east of the city at the Sim Keng Hong port in Pending. Air Kuching International Airport is the main gateway for air passengers. The airport's history dates back to the 1940s, and today the airport has undergoing many major redevelopment. The airport terminal is listed as the fourth busiest airport in Malaysia according to total passenger movements in 2013. Since 2009, the airport has grown rapidly with an increasing number of passengers and aircraft movement. It is the secondary hub for Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia, while became the third hub for Maswings, which serves flights to smaller towns and rural areas in East Malaysia.